Greetings, adventurers! We've got a ton of content to cover this week, so we're gonna dive right in. I'm using Guild Wars 2 for this particular video. It can be downloaded for free at www.guildwars2.com. There's a link in the description in case you're lazy like me. First, we're gonna double click on the desktop icon to start the game up. Doing so opens up a launcher. Here you'll find a few links with more info about the game and a news feed with recent game updates. This is rather common of MMORPGs. Once we click play, the game opens to the character selection screen and the player is presented with several options: play, create, delete, and in the left corner, world selection and logout. If you are playing with friends, it is a great idea to ask what world or server they are playing on, because in some games it will be advantageous to play on the same world. You can change this using world selection. Worlds are known as servers, realms, shards, and other names depending on the game. After selecting Create, we're presented with 5 different races to choose from, with some information about each one as they are clicked. This is the player's very first opportunity to connect with the character they're about to create. I've settled on Norn for my race, and I think I'll make it a female. Once we choose a race and click Next, the game asks us to select a profession, known in other games as class or specialization. I'll cycle through all of the options so you can get an idea of what each one is about. This is the most critical decision you will make in the vast majority of MMOs, so choose wisely. And I think I'll choose Warrior. Character creation in Guild Wars 2 starts with height and body type. Height is changed with the slider, and body type by a visual sample. Players also have the option of adding tattoos. Since I chose a warrior, an RPG archetype known for its prowess in close quarters combat, I'll attempt to give my Norn warrior a battle-hardened look. Please note that Norn are similar to humans, except they're much taller, in case you were confused when I selected Norn and a human character popped up. Tattoos are always cool, but what color should I pick? How about purple? That's one of my favorite colors. Facial customization options include adding scars. I think that fits my character perfectly. Well, with the exception of the star tattoos, I think I've made my Norn warrior look pretty intimidating. But hey, stars are cool. There's no shortage of hairstyle options either, so be sure to give your character an awesome do. As you can see, there are a bunch more sliders to really change the look of your character. The final appearance section allows you to change your starting armor die, which is kind of a neat feature. This section is actually pretty specific about what parts of the armor you can dye, so if you really like to customize your look, this is where to do it. You can also dye your armor in the game too, so don't worry if you have to replace the items you start out with. Alright, this next section is my favorite part, and it's the reason why I chose Guild Wars 2 for this video. The game presents a player with a series of fill-in-the-blank statements, which define your character's personality. More importantly, some of these choices actually affect the main story arc you will get to experience. I love this feature, mainly because it helps you become even more invested in your character, something that many games struggle with. Obviously, a warrior has to have ample amounts of ferocity, so we'll choose that. With all that ferocity and strength, I'll be able to crush my foes. Sometimes I can get a little out of hand at the tavern and end up getting into fights. Spirit aspect. Quite an interesting choice. I think the Mighty Bear speaks to my new character. And finally, we have to choose a name for our Norn warrior. Once you click Next, the game loads and a cinematic which introduces the Norn starting area will begin. I'm going to skip the cinematic in the interest of time. If this is your very first time seeing or playing an MMO, you may be somewhat overwhelmed by the UI, or user interface. I'll take you through the most important aspects of the UI one by one. This first window that pops up on the left is known as a tip. It lets the player know how to move their character, namely using the W, A, S, and D keys. We'll close it for now. In the upper left-hand corner are some of the most important user interface functions. Left-clicking on them expands them for use. Contacts and LFG is your list of friends and a way to socialize and find groups. LFG stands for Looking for Group. Hero is the panel you use to look at your character's stats and currently equipped items. Inventory is where all of your items are held. Mail is mail. You can send and receive notes and items here. Black Lion Trading Company is Guild Wars 2's version of an auction house, where players can post items for sale. The Guild tab contains a roster of people who are in the same guild. More on guilds in a future video. Further down on the left is the party pane. You can use the party pane to invite people to a group, and if you are in a group, the other group members' portraits will display in this area. Please note that the characters on our right are other player characters, or PCs. Now, on the far right, we've got the quest log. Hey look, we've got our first quest! These little dancing icons are daily login rewards that some games give to players. More on that in future videos, but for now, we'll stuff these things in our equipment bag. Over on the left is the chat panel, which is used for communicating with other players. This righteous, glorious bar is known as the action bar, and seated at the middle is the health pool, and in Guild Wars 2, your dodge token counters. These counters are used to avoid attacks from monsters and other players. Here you can see an ability on our action bar. If you mouse over it, a box appears with some information about the ability. 3 boxes appear for our ability because some abilities in Guild Wars 2 have different effects the more times they are cast in succession. Anytime you mouse over something and a box appears, that box is referred to as a tooltip. We also have a mending ability to heal our wounds. Each ability has a default key, which will use the ability when pressed. This is called a keybind, and learning how to keybind effectively is absolutely critical. In fact, the importance of keybinding cannot be overstated, and I will dedicate an entire week to this topic in the future. Down in the bottom right hand corner we have our map, and that green icon is a quest indicator. At the very bottom is our experience bar.
Hey, over here.
Okay, recruits, that's a false start. We're not going to be talking about combat and questing until next week. And I don't want to overload you with information. However, I did want to go over character creation and the beginner user interface due to their close proximity to each other in terms of when you'll experience them after buying or installing an MMO. So, I apologize if you did feel overloaded. You can go back and rewatch all you like. And even though you may feel overloaded, I think things went swimmingly. But seriously, join us next week. Going to be even more interesting. Combat, questing, two huge parts of MMOs. So join us next week. May the Force be with you.